out. Awesome. Lovely. Lying down, just get comfortable and start to make your way towards the breath. So we will start to use the breath for some heat, build some heat internally. And therefore, if you want to, I mean, you can keep your socks on and things if you're wearing them for a while, because, I mean, we might not even go towards downward facing dog, so socks might not even need to come off if your feet are cold. But if you want to flow, then the knees should stay bent with the feet flat on the floor, and then you've got that kind of fluid movement from one thing to the next. But first, let's let the body become really heavy and set that foundation, that restful foundation for everything that comes on top. And you can have your hands resting anywhere that's comfortable for you. I do find that as long as it's not a triggering, upsetting kind of sensation, hands on either sort of just below the rib cage, near the navel or on the belly can be quite useful when we do breathing exercises, because you can sometimes feel the movement of the breath, and that in itself can create a lovely feedback loop of calm. But that's why you only do it if it's all right for you. So softening the face, softening the back of the body, and softening the front of the body, and just settling with the breath. Just really allowing the cycle of breathing to bed itself in. You can listen to the sound of the breath, or you can fully experience the wholeness of the sensation of breathing. Or if you want to, you can observe the qualities of your breath. It is possible to do all of these things at the same time. So simultaneously being in the experience and also just attending to the qualities of the breath while you're at it. And you can stay with your natural breath for as long as you need to or want to at all times. When I suggest using the breath in a certain way, it's to assist with building heat and engaging certain muscles. You don't always have to do that. Obviously, you can tell if it's going to be safe for your body to not do that and want to if we're trying to stabilize in a way that takes strain away from the back. But if you haven't got an unstable back, then you're all right. Or if you have got a stable back, then you're generally all right. The key is to not avoid engaging through the abdomen at all times. You need to sometimes do it and sometimes not do it. So if you feel like doing it today, which I think probably you do, let's, as you exhale, press the feet down quite firmly, allow the tailbone to roll up, and with that movement, gently draw the abdomen down towards the ground. So there's a feeling of engagement deep in the abdomen. Try not to let the ribs flare up too much, and then inhale to relax and just soften the feet, soften the pelvic floor, and soften the abdomen. Exhale to press down, sweeping up. There's an upward movement through the pelvic floor, navel, all the way up to inside the rib cage. And then inhale to relax. And just keep working with that movement. The rocking movement of the pelvic bowl as you breathe, but also the heat, the warmth building slowly and quite gently, probably in the thighs, in the inner part of the core as you come to the trunk of the body. And if you have got your hand on your abdomen, hands on your abdomen, whether they're on the belly and the ribcage or a combination of the two, you might be able to just feel the change in the quality of the abdomen. Not everyone can, but sometimes you can just feel that little scoop or some kind of movement happening. Lovely. And maximum of 2 more of these. And we will just use the heat and the liveliness that hopefully has already started to build to do a little bit more abdominal work before we stretch out back a bit. So we're going to finish on the exhale. So the tailbone is rounding up a little bit. The lower back is just closer to the ground. Walk your feet in a little bit. You can relax them. We'll take the arms out wide with the palms downwards. And let's take the right leg up towards the ceiling. You can relax the foot, keep the left foot flat on the floor with the knee bent. And as you exhale, firm your abdomen and lower your right leg down to a hover. It doesn't matter how high that hover is, it's very much up to you. If you'd rather have the knee bent of the right leg, then you're absolutely welcome. Inhale to draw the leg up and exhale to lower it down. So just some simple leg lifts to bring a little warmth and strength into abdomen. For the sake of the recording, and for you, Mel, if you want to, strengthen up this movement even more or increase sensation and heat, you can lengthen out the left leg. It will make it a lot harder because you don't have anything to ground through. So you need to be very careful to use your abdomen and not your lower back. So it might be a bit early in the class for that, but maybe not. So I'm just going to finish this round and move over to the other leg. So for me, that's about 6. I'm going at medium speed. Left leg, bend the right leg, left leg up, relax the foot and lengthen away. So I've recently started doing Pilates, and what I realized is, at least in the Pilates classes that I go to, which are amazing, I actually go slower than Pilates. So some of the Pilates movements are very, very slow. But in class, I thought I always went at medium pace, but actually I go slower than Pilates. So all that bitching and complaining about how slow and boring Pilates is, not my teacher. She just whams it out. So I'm doing about 6 reps. I'm just going to do 2 more here. I've done about 4. I'm going to offer to build on this with dead bugs. So if you actually prefer this just working with the legs, then you can just work with the legs. You can carry on with what we're doing and switch sides again, or you can do start with the legs up in the air and then lower and keep the opposite one lifted. Or you can do arms and legs, opposite arm and opposite leg, which I like best. So it's your choice. Just make sure the hips lift and the small of the back lowers to the ground before you start. And you can keep your hands and feet quite relaxed. On an exhale, pulling the belly in. On an exhale, let's lower one leg and opposite arm back away from you. So the leg lengthens forward and the arm lengthens back slowly. Inhale to slowly lift. Exhale, other side. One leg lengthens away, just as far as is comfortable, arm lengthens away. I always go for a hover because I like that strong sensation, that intensity, but you can go exactly as far as is comfortable for you. And you can soften the knees and leave out the arms if you want to. And I'm going to do 4 on each side. So not millions, but you can do less or you can do more. I'm just about to do my 4th set. So always trying to avoid hammering the body, but still challenging and building heat. And strong sensation is quite important with strength work. So when you finish your fourth set, let's bring the knees in, have a nice rock and roll. Anything that feels nice for you, and let's do some nice stretching. So I think first of all, we'll do some dynamic bridge, but let's go for a bendy one because we have woken up the abdomen quite nicely. So let's not worry about, we'll do a bit more abdomen work later. Let's just couple this up with some slightly looser bridge. So taking the attention outward from the spine now, we'll take the legs further down the mat, feet a little bit wider, not super, super wide, just a little wider, toes pointing out. Arms in goalpost position or T-shape, or if you prefer them down by the sides, you're welcome. I'm going for goalpost, middle ground. And I'm just going to inhale to roll my spine up like a string of beads, rolling the spine up all the way to the tops of the shoulders. And then exhale to roll the spine down. And as I'm exhaling, I'm letting my body be very heavy so that I get the full benefit of gravity and the floor, ending with the tailbone. And then rolling up. I'm just going to keep this moving. Lovely continuum of movement that is all about massaging the back and lengthening out those muscles that we've just switched on in the front so that those muscles become long and strong together. Just staying with the movement, keeping the shoulders really rested on the ground. Don't forget that nice pelvic tilt at the bottom. Sometimes with bridge pose, it's easy to forget the little rock and roll of the hips at the very end of the movement, and that nice stretch that's available for the neck at the top of the movement. There's always a little effort in bridge, I find. Just going to do one more. And then lower all the way down. I'm going to hug my right knee in and have my hip compressions. So hands around the shin if possible, or behind the thigh if not. I'm going to lengthen out the left leg, but you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just bringing that right knee up towards the armpit, and on an exhale, gently draw the belly in and round, forehead towards knee, and knee towards forehead as well. And just to squeeze, inhale to lower. These are always optional. Exhale to squeeze, and I am using my abdomen to squeeze here, and inhale to lower. Exhale to squeeze one more time. Inhale to lower, and we'll just switch sides. Left leg in, right leg extends, maybe hovers, and then scoop belly in, exhale and squeeze. Keep the elbows in. This helps keep the arms a little bit warm as well. Inhale to lower. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, lower. So sometimes when we do these kind of movements, if you decide to keep them softer, it's always gratifying to remember in yoga that there's always a part of your muscle that is getting stronger. Whatever you're doing, there's always something. So lovely. Let's have a little, just a quick twist. So we'll bring the knees together, feet flat on the floor, arms out wide, and let's have the feet a little closer to the body and just rotate the knees over to the right as far as they'll go. You can loosen it a bit if you want once you're there. Make sure your shoulders are down, turn your head to the left. So again, just lengthening out through those abdominal muscles before we work some more. Keep breathing here, and you can stay engaged if you want to keep the heat in the belly, but you can let it go if you'd rather not. Lovely. And when you're ready, we will come back to center and exhale to take the knees over to the left. Turn the head maybe to the right. It's a little bit of a tighter twist. Really nice. Okay. So from here, you can either roll all the way over and meet me at seated, or you can come to center, have another little hug of the knees, and just rock back and then all the way up to roll forward and meet me seated that way. And we're going to come into boat position if you're comfortable with it. And we'll have some cat-cow from here. If you prefer cat-cow in any other seated position, please feel free, but we're going to do a bit of work in boat in between some stretches. So I don't want to go too far, too fast. So nice and tall, hands under the thighs, and let's exhale to round the spine. Stretch back and inhale to open up and reach forward, and just enjoy the movement. Allow your legs to rock with this movement. I know that there are some folks in this class who always prefer to do their cat-cow on all fours, and that is always fine. There doesn't have to be a perfect flow from one thing to the next. It's really not essential. As long as you get this nice rock and roll, this range of movement. And for me, this is particularly nice for the shoulders, and it does help to keep a little heat in the arms compared with the cross-legged version. So there's something just a little bit more, don't know, it feels a bit more engaged, this version. Okay, last one. And let's come to center. And I'm just going to work diagonally here because I think it's a bit more, I don't like not seeing the screen at all. So we'll sit tall. And I'm going to suggest we keep the legs down and sit back and bring hands to heart. If this is too strong at this stage, then you can tap the sides of the body, which is a slightly softer variation. You have the choice. Belly scooping in. So there's a sense of firming across the front of the body. And we're just going to exhale to twist to the right. Try and keep the knees steady. Inhale to center and twist to the left. And instead of ramping it up and ramping it up, let's just stay with this one and try and make it a really good movement with lots of integrity. So small, controlled movements, exhaling for the twist, keeping the knees as still as you can, exhaling for the twist. And this is that kind of thing where, even though it's nice to do the big flamboyant movements, if you want to intensify this, you can just reach back a little bit further. If you want to soften it, you can come up a little higher. So there's so much scope. And you know, you can always switch at any time. Switch and rest. Going to do 3 more rounds on each side. So, which is going to take me to a medium place. So if that's too much, you can stop and go for butterfly. Last one, right and left. Lovely. Butterfly, soles of the feet together, big diamond with the legs, and you can even shuffle your sitting bones back if you want more of a sort of fold. I like to hug my feet in this posture. Just softening in. I've actually done an awful lot of strength work today in the morning class, and then I did a workshop on planking for the YouTube channel. And it's quite nice actually to do something where it's a smaller, calmer kind of range of movements, which is unusual for me actually. Very nice. So let's come back up when you're ready. And we'll do, we'll keep legs down. We'll do our rowboats, and then we'll do seated wipers to release all of the seated boat work. And that'll be the only bit of boat that we're doing today, just enough to layer up bit by bit. So I'm going to keep my knees together, feet flat on the floor. You can lift them if you feel really spicy today. Hands can be under the thighs or forward. I'm just going to reach back, not too far, with a tall spine and chest lifted. And as you inhale, you square up. And as you exhale, you roll back. So it's just like rowing. You can do the arm movements as well if you want to. It always just feels a bit too gym for me to do that. And I'm going to go for maximum of 8 reps, considering I've done 3 already. There'll be another 5, and you can, if you've had enough, you can rest. So it's 5, 4, 3, trying to keep lifted, 2, and last one, rolling back. I'm just going to hold here for a second, not for a second, for 5 seconds. Just breathe, get that heat. And then from here, hands can come to the floor just behind and just settle in. Take the legs out wide. It's amazing how something quite intense can suddenly turn into something quite relaxed. And let's just roll the knees from side to side. And I actually think that this version of wipers is so perfect for abdominal work, but I can't believe it's taken me this long to realize that having done loads of boat pose, this variation of wipers is just perfect. So keep that in mind so that if I don't do it, you know, if you don't want to release in easy blissful pose or butterfly, this is a really good one. You could be back on forearms if you don't want to be weight bearing through your wrists. Lovely stuff. Okay, a few more rounds. I would like to do a little bit of dolphin. Are you all right with that today? Yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. So we're just going to come up to center and swizzle around, actually. just dispense with transitions entirely. So let's start. We'll build into dolphin. So we get our inversion, our shoulder strengthening, and also just a bit of back bending at the same time. So let's just start in child's pose with legs wide, toes together, lengthen out through the spine. Because we did all that tight, strong little side-to-side boat pose, let's have a side stretch. So we can take the arms over to the right. And if you want to, you can take your left wrist over your right wrist. So it's like half banana stretch, half side stretch in child's pose. Just see how that feels. If your shoulders are feeling tight and your side is feeling tight, it might be too intense to take the left wrist over the right. You can choose. Nice. Very nice. And when you're ready, you can walk your hands to center and then go over to the other side. So what I don't want is to keep us in any stretch for too long that the body pulls down. Remember, you can take your right wrist over your left if you want. Really nice. So let's come back to center and we're going to go for melting heart. So forearms can stay down. Let's bring the knees in and bring the hips over the knees for a bit. This is just to change the blood pressure a little bit into upside down mode. So sink the chest down, hips stay high, toes can be tucked or flat, it's your choice. And just start to let your body sink into this stretch, let the shoulders respond. You can wiggle the arms back a little bit if it's too strong in the shoulders, or bring the head up onto a block. And you're just really stretching through the back. And then we're going to, again, not staying too long in any one position. Let's walk the forearms underneath the shoulders. So we're coming into a tabletop on all fours. Now, one thing I realized when I was recording the workshop earlier on, when I was just showing dolphin and plank in forearms, is, yeah, it's not really great to do it with long sleeves because the sleeves slide back. So you might just want to roll your sleeves up too, so that your arms stick to your mat. You might not have that problem, but I do. Okay. So what I'm doing here is just inverting. I'm just going to keep my head dangling between my arms. So I'm gazing between the knees. And I want to get that sense of lifting out of the shoulder blades. So just start by relaxing your chest down towards the ground so you can really feel your shoulder blades pulling up and back, hugging around the spine. Then press into the forearms and the elbows and the whole of the hand, not just the heel of the hand, and start to lift the shoulder blades, lift out of the shoulder blades so they wrap around the chest. It's quite a strong sensation. Separating out the shoulder blades. And you can just pulse that a few times. Exhale to wrap the shoulder blades around the chest. Inhale to let them draw back around the spine. A couple of times. What we want when we're in downward facing dog and when we're in dolphin is to be actively choosing the variation, and it should be a majority of the time the version where the shoulder blades wrap around the chest. So explore that movement and find it. Wrapping the shoulder blades around the chest rather than sinking builds a lot of strength. It makes you, yes, more tired in the posture, but before you know it, your shoulder girdles, your arms, all of your muscular integrity of your upper body will start to increase dramatically, and you will take a lot of strain off your wrists and arms. So with that in mind, lecture over, mini workshop. Hopefully that will be useful. Let's tuck the toes, come to a neutral place with your shoulders. You don't do everything all at once. And then when you're ready, lift the knees, let the heels lengthen back, and keep the knees bent if you need to start with. Very hard work. When you haven't done dolphin for a while, it's very hard work, and you might just need to shuffle your arms around a bit. Try and get that feeling of wrapping the shoulder blades a bit more around the chest. Broaden them out. Don't have to stay here for very long. I haven't got much in me actually because I've done a lot of planking today. But I'm just going to be here for a few breaths, have a pedal. Actually, I can feel my arms warming up while I'm here. So we're going to have these few breaths here in dolphin. I think we'll do more of a little bit of this every week, just like we've been doing with the quads. And then one more breath. And the knees are coming down, and option for rabbit if you like that little inversion without doing the headstand. So you just need to bring the top of the head to the ground, absolute top of the head, not the forehead, and bring the hands back underneath the shoulders so the elbows are lifted. Like a little shove. So we're just pressing the top of the head into the ground, and you can roll forward and backwards if you want to stretch out the back of the neck. This feels bad, then it's child's pose for you. Lovely. Okay, just one more breath, and if you're in rabbit, I'm just going to very carefully and slowly roll all the way back so the bum comes to the heels. Take a breath in little rabbit, kind of, not rabbit, little traditional child's pose, all curled up like a ball. And from here on the next inhale, let's just float up to kneeling. Just walk the hands back and come up to a high kneeling, a normal seated kneeling position. Lovely. Let's do some twists here, and then we'll come up to do some standing work. So, I mean, if you're happy kneeling, you can sit in any seated position you prefer, maybe cross legs if you prefer that, or legs wide if you prefer that. So, otherwise, arms grow tall. We'll take your time to find the position that suits you, and we'll take the arms up. So just traditional twists. We'll take the left hand across to the right thigh, and the right hand can sit on the floor behind or wrap behind the back, whatever suits you. I'm just going to turn the chest. So think about when we were in boat pose, that twist that we did was so little, but it really worked in the abdomen, and it was a really good integral twist. So think of that rather than trying to hoik yourself a long way around. Gently draw in the abdomen all the way from the base of the chest down to the top of the pelvis. Just firm that in a little bit, and you might find that your range of twist is not only more comfortable but more secure. There is a lesson here about
Building good foundational strength will build mobility in the body because the body becomes stable. Lovely. When you're ready, on an inhale, we'll come back to center. Sweep the arms up gently, so we're nice and tall, and then take the right arm across and the left arm behind, either behind the waist or on the floor. Obviously, I'm sitting high, so my arm won't reach the floor. Nice rotation in the chest, head doesn't have to go round. Slight firming of the abdomen all the way through, not just pulling the belly button in. You can strongly scoop the abdomen if you want. Just make this whole twist feel very, very secure and controlled. Very nice. And let's inhale to center. That feels quite nice, actually. We'll come up to a high kneeling position. We're just going to make our way to a standing forward fold without downward facing dog. So let's bring the right leg forward, fingertips to the floor, tuck the toes, bring the left leg forward and into your soft forward fold. And let's just keep it a little bit soft. The legs may be fairly warm, but just to start with, we'll just keep the knees a bit bent. Opposite elbows in opposite hands, or a freestyle wiggle. So freestyle wiggling is freestyle. You don't need me to tell you what to do, but make sure your neck is relaxed. Otherwise, ragdoll with opposite arms, opposite elbows and opposite hands. Start with rolling your circles with your arms and get that real looseness around the shoulders. So that work that we did for dolphin, even though we have done dolphin before, and I know you particularly have done it a lot, it's such a big journey at the beginning, strengthening up the shoulders, but it's really important, and it does feel amazing once your shoulders do get very strong, and it really does help with the all the other work, all of it, but particularly with hands, particularly with wrists. And actually having strong arms really helps with your back as well. So let's turn this into a sway from side to side. Obviously, if you're dizzy, you can come up much higher so your head is above your heart, or at least level with your heart. And a nice sway from side to side. Feels good. Okay, let's release the hands. Soften the knees a little bit and make your way up to standing slowly. So on an inhale, you can just dip the knees, press the chest forward, slowly circle the arms up, reach for the ceiling, and then exhale, hands together to the heart, and nice and tall. Lovely. Excellent. So let's do pyramid. We haven't done pyramid pose for a long time. So we just want to be at the front of the mat with the feet under the hips. I'll just work diagonally because it's easier to see. Feet sort of under the hips. You need tram lines for this. So even if you prefer feet together, it's better to be on tram lines for balance. We'll have the hands on the hips this first time. And all we're going to do is pick up the right leg and step it back and just check you're still on tram lines. So it can be a huge, medium or small step back. You'll know pretty quickly whether you need to adjust it. The back foot can point out a little bit to the side, like in Warrior One, if you need to. If you're very open in the hips, then, or if you're very long in the hamstrings, you can have both feet facing forwards. It's different for different people. And the front leg needs to be mostly straight. A little bit of a bend is fine, but mostly straight. Draw up tall through the crown of the head, shoulders drawing back and down, chest lifted, and as you exhale, scoop belly in and hinge forward. Just come about halfway at most and check in with your legs. This is a stretch for the backs of the legs, but there's also a lot of strength involved and some balance. So gazing down at the floor, pyramid pose. You can release your hands now if you want to, bring them to the thighs or the shins. If you have room to fold forward more, you can just pull the belly in. You can use your hands if you need to scoop the belly in and just allow your upper body to soften down to wherever it will get to, which might allow you to bring your fingers to the floor or to blocks or books or whatever your alternative is, a chair, and we stay here and breathe. So let's just have
a couple of breaths here. It's a very strong stretch for the legs, so check your legs are comfortable. If they're not, you can bring them closer towards each other. Bring the back leg forward a bit. Or you can bend the knees a little bit more. You can come up higher. Let's inhale for a halfway lift here. So lengthen up the spine. Bring your hand to your thigh if you can. Have a breath. And as you exhale, see if you can soften back down, fingers to the floor, and bend that front knee a little bit. You can turn your back foot right out to the side, out to the right, and then inhale to bring your arms all the way up to warrior one. So if you inhale, float your arms up. You can bring your hands to your thighs on your way if you want. You can come all the way up, reach up, warrior one. So in warrior one, your hips are basically facing forwards as best they can. Chest is lovely and open. There's a back bend here. You can take your arms wider or into goddess position if your shoulders are feeling a little tight. Warrior one is a strength posture, so we hold. Let your lower body rest. Like, it's stable as long as your knee's over your ankle. It won't go anywhere if you let go of it. Then if you can, release the arms. Keep the legs where they are if possible. Weave your fingers together in the small of your back and just squeeze the elbows back. Push the chest forward. It doesn't need to be a very intense movement. Just stretching the chest open. And if this is too much in warrior one, you can bring your back foot forward and do this standing. Little lift of the chin. Release the arms. Hands come back to the hips, and let's just big step forward, back to standing. It's quite a lot of work. Let's do the other side. So right leg stays forward, left leg goes back. If you take your legs very far away from each other, then it will be stronger. If you keep them a little closer, then it will be less strong. Okay, so hips are forward. Either both feet are forward on tram lines, or the back foot is a little bit turning out to the side, but hips do need to be forward. Shoulders back and down, hands on hips. A little bend in that front knee if you need it. And then exhale, hinge, hinge, hinge. Think of drawing forward with your chest. So this is cow pose as opposed to cat pose in your back. Shoulders back, come down halfway. Release the hands to the shins or the thighs. See how that feels. You can stay absolutely high up here. If you've got the space on an exhale, you can either use your hands or your muscles to scoop your belly in and soften down. There's many, many versions of pyramid pose, and I'm bringing them back in. We used to do this quite a lot. I'm bringing them back. This version of pyramid is the traditional classical variation. So all the same as usual safety instructions for the backs of the legs. I can feel this really nicely in my hamstrings, even better than if I did any other kind of hamstring stretch. I kind of miss this posture actually. So on your next inhale, let's come to a halfway lift. So just the same as if we were standing, halfway lift. This is strengthening for your spine when you do this work, as long as you don't lean your hands on anything too much. And then on an exhale, soften down again, fingertips to the floor or blocks, or even to your thigh. Bend that front leg. Take the back leg properly out to the side. So there's plenty of stability there. And then inhale to come all the way up. You can use your hands on your thighs to help you. Into warrior one. Right knee is bent over the right ankle. Arms are lifted. If they get tired, you can always take your arms down. There's absolutely no obligation to stay here. I'm going to go into goddess pose because I want to relax my shoulders a little bit, but it's your choice. You can keep them lifted if you want. Goddess, elbows are level with shoulders. Chest is open, shoulders are squeezing together, palms facing inwards. Feels good, feels strong, just breathing. Warrior one is much harder than warrior two, in my opinion. Let's take the hands and just weave them into a nice little rosebud at the neck, at the small of your back, and gently draw the shoulders back. Lift your heart, maybe gaze up a little bit, not a huge amount.
Squeeze the shoulders back. This is a small back bend. Keep breathing. Lovely. You need to release the hands back to the waist, square up a little bit, and take a big step forward back to standing. Strong. Quite a lot of strong work. Yes, let's have a swing out. And I think we have done plenty of strength work for today. That's pretty much the whole body given a good old stretch. So it would be nice to do some standing stretches, I think. Shake it off. You know what we haven't done for ages? Hip circles. Let's do some hip circles. Hands on hips. It's been such a long time. Let's free it up now. So we've done loads. Let's do some nice hip circles. Make it feel really nice. I do enjoy making sure that I have my thumbs resting around my sacrum here. I can feel these really strong muscles here. And I try to press in as I come forward just to remind me to do the forward movement. They feel really good, and not to forget the side to side. So as much as I call them hip circles, I think freestyling into what you need is quite important. Oh my God, this feels really good. I think after Warrior 1, hip circles is a nice feeling because it's quite strong for the lower back, and we've done so much strengthening. Okay. Really nice. Really, really nice. Couple more. And I think we'll take the legs wide and do a little bit of pendulum, which actually, when the last time I threw my back out, that was during pendulum. So I'm a little bit scared a bit, but it'll be fine. We can do it. So let's take the legs out a little wide. They don't have to be hugely wide. I want a good base. So we'll do a few movements here. Just so legs wide enough that it feels good. Fingertips face each other. Do they? No, let's do Cossack arms actually first. So actually stack your forearms, and it's up to you whether you want to pull the belly in here or not. It's your choice, whatever feels comfortable. So as you exhale, take your right arm out to the side and rotate your chest to the right. It's a small movement, it's not a big one. And then inhale to center, right arm underneath. Exhale, left arm out to the side, rotate a little bit, and then come to center. So it's that upper body Cossack dancing, alternating sides. And I am not tensing up my arms, but there is a certain warmth that comes with this because you're hovering your arms. So all of this is also strengthening shoulders. And I would say that on a day when you don't feel like doing dolphin, if you were seated and did this, this is going to strengthen up your shoulders really nicely. One more on each side. Lovely. And then let's release the hands down by the side. So finish your round and then release the hands. We'll do a mini triangle. So let's take the left arm up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, just slide over to the right. Just slide it over. Be free with this. Let yourself bend. If you need to rest your hand anywhere, rest it on your thigh or your calf, but not on your knee. Have one more breath here. And inhale all the way back up. Take the right arm up and the left arm down and extend over to the left. Soften in. And then if you're comfortable, side to side. So both arms up, rock over to the right, and just really fluid. And what I'm going to say is to avoid that dizziness, try to avoid going too deep or letting your head collapse towards your shoulder. Just keep the neck in line with the rest of the spine and think of lengthening away. If it's too much, you can have your hands down and go across rather than up. Last one over on the left, if you started on the right. Let's come to center, take the arms out wide. I'm going to do this with a little bit of bent knees actually. So I'm going to take my toes out a little bit and I'm going to soften the knees so it's not as locked off in the lower body. As I inhale, I'm going to take my left arm up and over towards my right. And then I'm going to bend the knees a bit as I scoop down towards the ground. Sweep the arms across, bring the right arm up and over and all the way back up. 2 more rounds. Going to the right, and I'm just going to do this little bend because I want to look after my back because I have latent fear in my body. Which is a nice thing to hear in a yoga class, isn't it? But this is how we protect. If you want to keep your legs long, you can. Your back is not unstable in the way that mine is. When you've done 3 rounds, you go back the other way. Right arm goes to meet the left, both arms scoop down into this nice deep squat, which I have to say is very nice sensation on my back. Inhale to open up. Exhale down, bend the knees, squat down between the legs, open up. I actually think that feels much nicer than the other version. Last one. Really nice, really nice. Let's take the arms up. When you finish, reach into standing star, gazing up, 5-pointed star. If you can lift your gaze, do, but it does sometimes make you a bit dizzy, all the lifting of the eyes. And then let's sit into that squat. So hands to heart, sit into your high squat and go gently and take a minute to make it comfortable, because I think sometimes we go into this squat and we don't hang around for very long. So just play with it. Really, what you should be able to see is your full foot. If you look over your knee, you should be able to see your whole foot. There we go. Sometimes it just takes a minute to find it. And don't worry about, if your bum wants to stick out, let it stick out. Don't worry about tucking your tailbone and flattening everything off, because that can be artificial. So be comfortable here. Inhale to circle up. Let's do a few of these. And just exhale to sit into the squat. And I'm not doing this for strength, I'm doing it for movement in the hips. So I'm not stopping in this squat at this point. You can if you want. I'm just moving into the hips because I find this lovely circular movement. I can feel that squat settling comfortably into my body with each round. Yes, very nice. The last one, squat all the way down and then sink as far as you'll go. Bring your hands to your thighs if you want. And just be tall here. Lovely. You can either come up and forward fold, or if you're able to, you can pull your heels behind your toes, lengthen out the legs and fold from this halfway position. So hands come then to the hips and take a wide leg forward fold. Make it comfortable, make it feel good for you. And if there is no such thing as a wide leg forward fold that feels comfortable for you, then you can go for a ragdoll, but just take the legs a little bit wider than they would be. Once you're down to wherever you get to, you can relax your neck, relax your shoulders, either let your hands rest somewhere down your legs that isn't your knees, or dangling or hanging or sitting on the floor. And if you happen to want to deepen your fold, line up your fingertips with your toe tips, but underneath your shoulders, and then gently draw the elbows back, and your upper body will rotate towards underneath the legs area. Sometimes people can pop their head on the floor. I haven't got that much warmth in my body at the moment. And we just breathe here, being upside down. We're working our way back down to the floor for our winding down stretches. Okay, so you've got 2 options. You can walk your hand, if you fancy a wide leg downward dog, which is quite nice because it doesn't tend to strain the hands as much because all the weight's in the legs. You can walk your hands forward if they reach the floor and stretch your hips and shoulders right back. So there's very little weight in the hands here. Or if you prefer a normal downward dog, you can shuffle your feet in and make your way to your downward dog from there. Or if you don't want either of those, we heel toe the feet in and make our way down. We're going to come to our bellies.
So making our way to lying on front. So I'm in my straddle dog here. I'm going to heel toe my feet in and just walk them, shuffle them back into a normal downward facing dog. I'm not actually staying in dog right now. You can have a pedal if you like it. You can stay here and have a pedal, but I'm just going to bring my knees down and come to my front. So this is a little bit of freestyle. It's a sense of making your way down to your belly in a way that makes sense for you, and you can have your pedal in downward dog if that feels good. And it does, it feels amazing, but it's just nice to do a class which isn't contingent on downward facing dog sometimes. Right, let's have our usual nice seal pose and quad stretches. Elbows underneath the shoulders in Sphinx to start with. I do love Sphinx. Sphinx is a really good posture and really accessible. And of course, if you want to deepen out of Sphinx and into something stronger on your back, you can lift the elbows. So it really depends on what kind of back bend is sitting in your body today. If you prefer a wide one, seal pose, arms wide, fingertips pointing out. Whichever variation you opt for, we're winding down, so make it loosey-goosey. I'm going to go for seal because that feels good. Legs wide. And I want to wiggle my shoulders. So it's right shoulder forward, left shoulder back, and then back to center, and then the other way. And you can do this in Sphinx, your low lift cobra with the arms forward, or seal, which I think is better than the low lift cobra because you get a better rotation in the upper body. So your choice. And as I mentioned before the break, you can do all of these supported if you want a more restful experience. Last one, left shoulder forward, right shoulder back. And then I'm just going to do this super chill now. Bring the whole body down. You can be upright on forearms if you want. I'm going to rest my head on my forearm and I'm going to scoop up my right foot and pull it in towards the bum. And just a reminder, because I know normally on a Monday for this recording, those of you who would normally lasso your foot with a strap, please do that, because your quad stretches will eventually come to the point where you can hold onto your foot if you use the strap to start with. The mobility does come very quickly. So just want that feeling along the front of thigh and front hip. Really, really nice. And when you're ready, this feels pretty good actually, but my quads don't feel that tight. So maybe we've done quite a lot to balance it out. But if you need longer on the right, then you can go ahead. When you're ready, switch sides. A little bit more of a stretch on the left. And generally for your quad stretches, you do need to bring your knee back more in line with your hip. But I would work with what makes sense for you, because I find it varies depending on position. For me, if I'm lying on my side, I find quad stretches really hard on my knees unless I elevate them. So just see what feels best. Really started to have learned a thing or two about trying to force your body to do things that are not naturally in it. And sometimes it happens by accident. It's not because you're doing anything, you think you're doing something that's correct and useful, but everything that you do should be with respect to your own anatomy. And there is no universal rules about things like the location of your knee. This is just to do with not trying to force joints into strange positions. But for most of us, our joints are already in strange positions. So just being very respectful of the sensation that you're experiencing. That's why I said in the squat, we don't try and force your back flat or your tailbone to tuck under. If the back wants to arch a little bit, don't force it to arch too much. Lovely. Let's release the left foot. And
we will have relaxation for 5 minutes. And if you're happy here lying on your front, I really recommend staying on your front because it keeps heat in. It's a little bit of a back bend. And there's something very restful about being closed off, but not everybody feels that way. So you can roll yourself onto your back and have a knees to chest for a rock and roll or something if you want. So absolutely your choice. Wherever you are, wherever you put yourself, make sure you've got all the layers on, that you stay warm. We're just going to have a few minutes. And actually, if you want to be seated, you can be seated for sure. Any kind of rest that works. I'm just going to put some socks on while you settle in. Don't actually like wearing socks for yoga, but needs must. I've got leg warmers on the way. Like a big 80s queen. They're cashmere though, because I'm 42. Oh, lovely. So let's just finish where we started with some nice breaths, but you can be really comfortable. Allow your body to become heavy on the ground. Back of the body soft, heavy. And the front of the body soft and heavy. And let the face become soft. Maybe if you like to, you could have a great big breath in, like your body's a balloon that you're filling up. And as you exhale through the mouth, have a big melodramatic sigh. Let it all go. And you can do that as many times as you want. And sometimes those big melodramatic sighs are so just what you need. Start to just let the breath balance. So let go of control. Let go of the abdomen, the pelvic floor. Let go of the thighs, feet, the calves, the back. Let go of the shoulders and the arms and the head. And sink your whole experience of lying here into the rhythm of your natural breath that breathes itself. And if you can lie here and enjoy being with the breath for a couple of minutes, then absolutely do that. But if you are a person who relates to imagery, then sometimes a really beautiful feeling is to notice how the breath sounds a little bit like the tide washing in on a beach. And so you can start to maybe think of the breath as the tide washing in from the feet up to the top of the head. And then as you exhale, that tide washes out from the top of the head to the soles of the feet. And all of those little bits of shingle and seaweed, they all wash out into the sea. And the tide washes in again. Your own personal beach. And that feeling of the breath washing in and washing out. And if you're able to settle in with an image like that, it's sometimes bordering on impossible to come away from it. So if you want to stay with
these deep circular breaths like the tides on your personal beach. You absolutely can stay here, and I'll close the meeting and you can continue to rest. And if you want to close the practice and seal together before it gets too chilly or too late, just bring a little bit of movement to the fingers and the toes as you breathe. This deep breaths are nice because they're calming, but they don't necessarily put you to sleep, as restful as they are. So a little bit of movement, the fingers and the toes and the ankles and the wrists, which hopefully are still quite warm. And maybe a gentle squeezing in of the knees if that is what is right for you right now. A little bit of a rock and roll. Taking your time, savoring it. And then making sure that you allow some time for a breath or two on your side before you come up towards seated. As I say, with the video, the recording can absolutely stay in relaxation. And it's a lesson to turn off autoplay on YouTube. Just turn it off. When you're ready, seated, lovely. Just sitting nice and tall for one breath, hands down by the sides, palms forward. And as you inhale, draw a lovely circle around yourself. And exhale, bring the hands to the heart. Thank you so much. That felt really nice actually.